registered hour. She's coming.
Oh, good. We are in the office of the National FANHS office in Seattle, Washington. Founded in 1982. By guess who? It's Auntie Dorothy.
I know, with her messy hair.
No. This is our home. This is the heart and soul of the Filipino American people.
We like to think that.
So, do you have any kind words to say about going to Chicago this year?
Me?
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
I am. I really am. I looked at the list of people coming, and I don't know most of them, so I think
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing because then there's new energy.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of people who I know are coming, and it's always good to see old friends.
Absolutely. One of the things that we are mentioning about some of the future events that's going to be happening later on down the line, like the possibility of a off-year gathering in California someplace. We don't know where.
In the Stockton area.
In Stockton. Okay, that would be great because our National Museum is in Stockton, and that would be a great reason to visit the area, and so people can appreciate some of the hallowed grounds.
Yeah, it'll be good for. It's just the right place for us to. My big concern is so many of the people who know the old history are dying, and so we need to tap them. And we need the younger people get to know them before they all pass away.
Yeah, at least. We talked about with the ease of information these days, it's very, very rare opportunities for the generations to actually get together and get to know each other, to communicate, and FANHS has been one of the great places where you could actually not only learn about the history, but learn about other people, and you could share. And it's a tremendous accomplishment. Founded in 1982. Hey, that reminds me.
I know where you're going.
1982.
You have to really think about that, Alan.
Well, let's just put that out there on the table that possibly in 2022 it's the 40th anniversary of FANHS, and we are thinking it should come back to Seattle so people can actually visit the archives.
Well,
and we'll just table that for a later discussion.
Yeah, let's really table
But
that.
let's talk about Chicago. Who are you looking forward to seeing specifically?
Marina.
Okay, Marina. That's right. Marina. The last time I saw her present was in the Philippines when we did 1998.
No, the last time she presented was in Albuquerque.
Oh, okay. I said last time I saw her.
Oh, you saw her. Well, yeah. The last time she presented was with Fred.
Okay.
And the thing was, when she and Fred presented, she told me she felt really bad, really sad, because they both came out with new research, and only around 6 or 7 people showed up.
No way. Was it a workshop?
Yeah, it was a workshop, but some of the others were flowing over with people because they were doing things like food. Really important things.
Oh, and then so she's also going to be sharing some new research in Chicago this year?
Things that really change your life, not everyday mundane kind of thing. Food's important, but one day I would like to make a comment on food. It would be really interesting to find out 2 things on food besides the fact that people cook it, is the history of how people, we were just discussing it with the women, how people, what kind of food they had where they didn't have to pay a lot of money. Like food gatherers, like they did, fishing, digging for clam, going to the public market and getting the salmon heads and salmon bellies and salmon tails for free,
Or even the butcher shop.
Yeah, and going down to
Kent and Auburn.
Going down to the prime packing house and getting the pig feet, big tail, and the entrails for free because they were throwing them away. So the Filipinos would get. That would be interesting to know about, for people to know that there were a time that Filipinos were using their common sense and using things that. See, now this is a time in society where we're not the great throwaway society. We're starting to gather things. And apparently in the Philippines, Filipinos always did that. And then the other thing too that always intrigued me is how many Filipinos back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s were actually cooks in restaurants. How did they become cooks? How many of them went to 4-star
Training.
culinary school? None at that time, but they became good cooks when they had an innate sense of seasoning, but also they were trained. Like my dad became the night chef over at Ivor's. He started out as a dishwasher, worked his way up into pantryman, and then he was a fry cook, and then became a sous chef, and then he became a chef. But he always had that spin of Filipino food.
He had a
He gave
palate
that
for
a really extra thing. How many of our uncles did it? I mean, the book that I wanted to do after I did the NIH grant, after listening to all these people, it was called "So You Miss Your Daddy's Cooking." I mean, and it would have been good because at that time, back in 1982, so many of the men actually were the ones cooking. They were more than their wives were, because a lot of the wives by that time, the ones from the Philippines, they had maids to cook for them, but the men were here. So that in itself, when you talk about food, I would like to, not the foodie thing so much, it may be a whole thing on, a whole different spin on the history of that. And here's the other thing, how many of those cooks actually were Navy cooks who could cook for hundreds of people and wouldn't freak out at rush hour at a restaurant? Because what would a rush would be for around 20 people? Heck, they were used to cook for 300 or 400 folks on time. They have to get the meals out there. So they're just really different aspects.
Well, that's, and also that could be noted is that could be strictly Filipino American, because that's how.
But that's we're talking about Filipino American history on food.
Yes.
We're not talking about Filipino food.
Yes.
And then how did we? Like, I didn't know different desserts. I never tasted lumpia until I was a junior in college.
Really? So where did you taste this lumpia at?
Well, we were having a fundraiser for our club at Seattle University, our Pinoy club, and Fred comes in with this great big tray of things that were fried. They looked like pencils, or like cigars. And they said, "What are they?" And he said, "My mother sent them. You could sell them for 10 cents each." So we did.
Oh.
And we made money. I think we made something like 10 cents each of 100. How much is that? We made $10. Maybe we charged 15 cents. Well, anyway, I never had a lumpia until that time. And there were a lot of food, so it was interesting how even the history of food of Filipinos coming here was regional. The whole fact that we would cook pinakbit, we ate that all the time.
Yeah. We had the farms too to grow it.
Yeah. It was peasant food. But when we talk about the history, people say we've done it a lot, but it would be, what I would really like to see in the future is some of the conferences, not so much giving the history, but have a discussion on how important was it relevant, all these different things. I would like to see things on politics, on the political thing. You bring the old with the new and the one in the middle. So what framed our political stance? Why was it that during my dad's and my mother's day and your parents' day, they were basically Democrats? And why is it that today the Filipinos are basically Republican? What changed in our attitude? What was it that changed? I knew why my parents were what they were, and I know why I am. But did our values change? We're all Filipino. We're friends. What happened? And I think what FANHS has to do, we have to do critical thinking. It isn't so much that we do these things and share it. We have to think about certain things. Why are we the way we are? Why was it that in the last election, the Asian group that voted most for Trump were the Filipinos? More than the Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, Vietnamese, blah, blah, etc., etc. Filipinos, number one in the hit parade list. So, food for thought. My brain doesn't stop working. And Don't get
Well, I
me-
think that's what FANHS is really a place to really not teach,
We-
but
we need
us
to dialogue.
stimulate thought.
Yeah,
And start
I think,
create
I think
the dialogue.
probably what we
You're
have to
probably
do is
right.
we talk. And why is it why is it now that so many young Filipinos are more involved in what's happening in the Philippines than they are here? It's like going back. I mean, when we were growing up, we were American, right? We knew we were Filipino because that's the food we ate. We looked at in the mirror, we saw a Filipino face. We knew our parents were. We had customs that were Filipino. But by and large, if you say, what are you? We were Filipino American. I have students from the UW now. They come here the last time election. They had just come from the Philippines. I said, were you registered to vote? There was a blank look on their face, like. So I said, oh, okay, I beg your pardon. So you're voting in the last Philippine election? Oh, no. But they knew a lot about the Filipinos. I don't even know if they even knew about the local. They knew maybe about the big election, the president, vice president, but did they know about local election?
Were they born there and then came here? Or they were born here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, a few of them were born in the Philippines. So why is it? What is it? What changes? Why is it that when Fred was pushing this whole concept of Filipino American History Month, and then once it's out there, people are insisting it's really Filipino Heritage Month. So my big argument with them is, okay, tell me the significance of October to heritage. Why October? Why? Was there a special dance program? I beg your pardon, there wasn't.
Field Fest.
There wasn't Hampton Road.
To nickling world record.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So you could dance every month of the year. But the reason for that is because October 18, 1587 was the first written documentation of Filipinos, the presence, not even Filipinos, Indios Luzones in the United States. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about. So why is it that they keep insisting that it is going to be like Tacoma? They're still putting it. I mean,
Tacomas?
they're going to celebrate Filipino American History Month. Heritage Month. And
In October?
in October, because that's what they start. It was started by God knows whom, and I know who started it. We were the ones who started it. So there are different things we have to consider.
I think they're just changing it because they don't understand about Filipino American history.
That's it primarily. I don't think they think it's important.
Yeah.
I brought.
Yeah, or they don't understand it. A lot of it is ignorance about like what is Filipino American history. And it's like I told that group of people over there in Bellevue. I told them, it's Filipino American history. It's contributions that we made here in the United States. Things that made a difference. But you know what? A lot of people don't know these things. That's why we have to say what we did. We have to talk our talk. We have to say what we did to make America it is today.
To help in the growth of America.
Yes,
And
we're part of United States history because we were here. 1587, we were here. Yeah. We made history. So it's not like we have to know first, but we have to tell other people that we made a difference.
And so we have to teach people because once we're gone, I mean, I don't have many more years left. I'm really honest about the whole thing. So many of my friends are dying, younger than me. I'm just surprised I get up in the morning. I go down at my coffee and say, man, I'm still here. And I'm thinking, and I read the obituaries, and I haven't read mine yet. So no, I'm still around. It's just that.
Well, some of it too is maybe they see no value in knowing the history. I mean, why should I know it?
Well, I'll tell you a funny thing. I was trying to get the posters, No Filipinos Allowed, reprinted. I brought it to Costco, who does a lot of my printing, but it's big. And they said, this is too big. We can't scan it. It can scan a smaller side. I said, well, can you reduce it? They said, no, can't you hear what we said? We can't scan it. So they told me to get another picture. So the woman who does a lot of their things is Filipina, and I know her. And then I showed it to her, and I said, yeah, and they were looking at the poster, white guy and this Filipina. And I said, yeah, it said no Filipinos allowed. And I said, some of them said no Filipinos or dogs allowed. And I could see her face. She was like, oh my God, don't say that.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell this white man this is what they said at one time. And the guy, she took it that way. I was watching her face, because you're used to, when you're me, you watch people, see how they're going to react to something that seems negative or embarrassing to them.
Yeah.
And he was intrigued.
Yeah.
In fact, when I said, yeah, it's happening all over again. So he carried on a conversation with me. She could hardly wait to get back to her computer.
Oh.
So it embarrasses them.
Yeah.
It embarrasses them because a lot of them feel that they made it. And that's why a lot of them don't even probably have any sympathy with what's happening down with the border thing. They don't realize that at one time we were at the tail end of the negative. Rapists, taking away our jobs, all these great big headlines.
Dancing with white women.
Huh?
Dancing with white women.
Oh, yeah, and their kids are all going to be Mongoloid.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they were putting out there, these headlines saying all these things. I mean, the most disparaging is history repeating itself. This time it's a different group of people.
Yep.
And usually, check it out, they don't do it with anybody from North or Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
If they did it with people from Europe, it was people from the Mediterranean area,
that's right.
because they were darker.
Yeah.
This country, so make America great again. Make America white again. Now let's go back a little further, honey, because before the whites came, Native Americans were here.
Yeah.
So let's make America Native American again. Let's do that. Yeah. Oh yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And that's okay with me, because a lot of our people are Indopinos.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, I'm just saying, we have to make people think. I wouldn't be anything but an American. But for us to be Americans, we have to make this country better. And the good thing is there are a lot of good people in this country. Even in my family, I got people who are Trumpers. And I tell my children that at family gatherings, we don't talk politics.
Yeah. Well, that's like in our family, too.
Yeah.
We don't talk
politics.
politics.
And they are very adamant about that whole thing. Damien even says, well, there were some people who waited their turn. I said, yeah, but they didn't have anything bad happening to them in the Philippines. They just want to come here, be reunified. Those people are running away from things. They are refugees.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's a difference. Get it together, folks. I mean, I'll give you a dictionary. Give you a Roger Thesaurus that tells you the difference between just plain old immigrant and a refugee.
Yeah.
And really, so don't get me started. I mean,
you're
really.
doing fine.
Oh yeah, sure. It's better.
I wonder what you'd be like if you were all dressed up with makeup and stuff. Huh?
I would be very nice. I would be my other self.
Well,
but not really thinking that way. I would be. There's just a lot of damn issues, As old as I am, I just really wonder, am I out of sync? Am I the one who's out of tune, What really scares me is, well, we've outlived a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm 86. I've seen so many things happen. And we as people have a tendency we can outlive these things. We can wait out our turn. Wait our time. But I'm thinking, the good thing is, for you guys, life is a lot better. But my grandchildren's life is not going to be better. It isn't. We know that now. How many of our kids are going to own homes? Our grandkids.
Oh.
See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to really be, what they say, most of the wealth in this country is owned by the top 1 or 2%, actually. And where do we fit in? How many Filipino millionaires are there? I'm sure there are some. And if they were smart, they keep it to themselves. Otherwise, people come knocking on their door. It's just that I spent I spent, most of my life fighting for Cuba. I can remember acts of discrimination against the drill team. They're really blatant.
I remember going to Stockton. We were on the bus, and we stopped at some place in Oregon. I can't remember now. We were supposed to use the bathroom, and they wouldn't let us use the bathroom.
Yeah.
That was the first time I really felt like not wanted, like I was committing like a sin or something like that. I felt very embarrassed. I couldn't go to the bathroom. And I think Auntie Mary had to explain that to me. Because I just really didn't understand what was going on. I was 15, you know.
And this was in the 70s.
Yeah, it was in the 70s. Going to Stockton.
See, and here's the thing too, Barbara. During the 70s, because of these things, a lot of us figured it's time to stop them. So we fought for civil rights. And because, here's the odd thing, like I was telling you earlier, because we decided then to challenge authority, then some of our own people in our group thought we were communists. What were we doing? We were fighting for them, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And for many of us who were second generation parents, we were actually fighting for 3 generations, for our parents, for us, and our kids.
Yes.
And the thing is, look, are we American or are we not? You know, and we did make there were some gains, and the good thing, it wasn't, some of our enemies were Filipinos, you know. Whoops, I got to go answer the phone. Maybe that's jail.
You heard it from the office of FANHS.
FANHS?
Stay brown, be brown, know your history.
Is that live?
No, what happened?